Here's what's missing. As I watched them criticize the president and Melania for going to Iraq, that was like the last straw for me. And then they criticized the president because he and the first lady were talking to kids about Santa, and he didn't do it the right way, according to the media. And then I just realized the only words we're going to hear this year are impeachment, impeachment, impeachment. The president is not getting impeached this year. I'm 99.9% sure there's no Russia collusion. There was Hillary collusion with Russia, but not Trump. And I think they're going to be very disappointed, move the goalpost, but they're not going to be talking about or thinking of policies that are going to help the American people. That I can assure you.
No, that's right. I thought it was interesting, by the way, that Giuliani said, put up or shut up. I mean, Mueller's had all this time. What you got? Show your hand. And I don't think they have a hand.
Well, I don't think so either.
Nothing there.
What about all these other issues, though? Because this is part of what my coverage is going to be about, too. What about the abuse of the powerful tools of intelligence? What about the fact that they exonerated Hillary when she was guilty of crimes? What about the fact that they committed fraud against FISA court judges? What's going to happen there?
Well, look, I think there's a whole range of those things, and I think the depth of corruption, when you look at the FBI, for example, it's astonishing how many different people are now involved. And I think again and again you see this happening across the system. And that to me was a surprise. I mean, I knew that there was a bias, but I didn't know that it had gotten so bad that people were willing to break the law and cover for each other. And you're exactly right. There is a pattern out there that we're going to have to continue to put pressure on. And, of course, the other story here, which is going to be fascinating, is I noticed this afternoon that the left-wingers are already mad at Nancy Pelosi because the rules package that she's proposing doesn't give them everything they want. And I think that the Democrats may find that they have a lot more problems among themselves than they expected, and that life is not going to be nearly as easy and clear sailing as the New York Times or the Washington Post would like.
You see, I think something's going to happen this year, and it's going to be fascinating for me to watch and you to watch, is they've already started overplaying their hand. And if they think that they're going to issue 1 million subpoenas on 1 million different topics and not have pushback and not do what Obama did and that slow walk it all, I think they're delusional. The idea that they're going to try and turn the next 2 years into destroying one man and not think about the American people is a mistake. For example, we're now in the middle of a so-called government shutdown. Government shutdowns don't bother me. I do want the people that are furloughed to get full back pay. I don't want them to suffer. But essential services always keep going. But the idea that they're not going to fund the border wall, I don't see the president caving on that. The president's going to get the money for his wall one way or another. And I think stopping drug trafficking and human trafficking and having the ability to vet people that come into this country is a good thing for our safety and security. And I think the American people, it's a winning issue for the president in the end.
Look, every time you see, for example, as we saw in California the other day, an illegal alien killing a policeman, It just reminds everybody that those who are opposed to protecting America just are totally out of touch with reality. And I think in the long run, being against national security and being against public safety is a losing hand.
All right, quick break. More with Newt Gingrich on the other side as we continue our New Year edition of the Sean Hannity Show.
Madison Reed.
And I am proud, and I'll tell you what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down. And I'm going to shut it down for border
But we
security.
believe you shouldn't shut it down.
All right, as we continue with Newt Gingrich on our Newsmaker line, what do you think is going to happen as it relates to the shutdown? Because my position for the president would be, and I know the administration invited over the Democratic leaders. They didn't really want to spend time with the president. They want to do it their way. They're going to offer a package tomorrow with zero wall funding. Okay, that's an unacceptable deal. So the president's going to keep the government shut down.
Right.
I assume there'll be continuing resolutions to fund the essential aspects of government until they come to a deal. How do you see this playing out?
I think it depends on how much nerve the president has. I think in the end, first of all, and I, as you know, I wrote an op-ed about this about 2 weeks ago. I think that there's a deal for the Dreamers, which over 80% of the country agrees with. If you came here as a young child, we ought to find a way to make you legally comfortable, not necessarily have citizenship, but legally comfortable. And there's a deal to combine that with funding for the southern border. And I think the Democrats, every day they turn that down, are saying to the Hispanic community that they dislike Trump more than they care about helping people who overwhelmingly Americans think ought to be helped. I don't see why the president should give in. And I think that if he's continuously willing to talk and he's continuously looking for some reasonable compromise, they could pass, for example, $2.5 billion this year and committed $2.5 billion in appropriations next year. He'd get $5 billion. And the Democrats will say, no, I'm not even going to do that. I think currently they backed off even from the original $1.6 billion state effort. There's a point where it becomes silly. And I think one of his jobs, and he intuitively, you can watch him, he intuitively knows that the more the country gets to see of Nancy Pelosi, the better off it's going to be for Republicans. Well, so I think he wants her out there in public. He wants her being herself.
You know, if you look at the sheriff out in California, you have a local sheriff blaming, you know, California is not only, San Francisco is not only a sanctuary city, but California is a sanctuary state. And the local sheriff, Perez Aragia, you know, literally is saying now that those laws, blaming those laws for the illegal alien murder of a hero cop. I mean, that just happens this weekend. And how do you justify one American dying?
You're going to see more of this. Well, and I think what it does is it makes the Democrats look like they're totally out of touch with reality. And, of course, the left wing of the Democratic Party is totally out of touch with reality. And that's a key thing to understand about this. You're not having a debate between two sides about the same world. You have a debate where one side lives in a fantasy in which everybody's nice. We don't really need borders. MS-13 isn't a threat, et cetera. And I think as the country comes to understand that, the future of the Democrats will diminish accordingly.
You know, I look at what the president is doing here on this. I just think that closing the government down and not making any deal, but being open to the president stayed home as Nancy Pelosi was in Hawaii and Maxine Waters, I read, was in the Bahamas or somewhere, and everybody else is on vacation. And he's saying, I'm here. I'm willing to make a deal, foregoing that vacation. I think was a smart thing to do. But more importantly, I don't know how any reasonable person with the numbers of Americans that have been murdered, and I've been from the Rio Grande to San Diego 13 times, helicopters, boat, all-terrain vehicle, horseback, you name it, I've been on it. I've been there when gang members were arrested. I have the videotape. I've seen the, you know, drug warehouses, floor-to-ceiling drugs, but drugs, human trafficking, the dangerous elements that want to cross our borders, to me, it seems like something worth fighting for. And one of the things I don't like about a lot of politicians are not.
It is.
There it is, right?
Yeah, but also it goes deeper than that. Right now, you're engaged in the contest of will. Pelosi feels her oath. She got to be speaker again, and she thinks that she's tougher than the president. And I think there's a certain importance to Trump in frankly, forcing a victory here. I don't care how long it takes. And again, those our audience ought to know I helped close the government twice in 95, early 96, for a total of 27 days. And as a result of that confrontation, we ended up getting a welfare reform, the largest capital gains tax cut in history, and we balanced the federal budget for 4 straight years. So I'm not afraid to get involved in a collision, and I think it's really important that the president not back down, because this is the first test of 2 solid years of the Democrats trying to come at him. And if he gives in on this, who knows what their next demand will be.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of bars being moved. Mr. Speaker, Happy New Year. And we'll be seeing you hopefully a lot throughout the year and hearing from you on the show regularly. We always love having you, and all the best to you and Callista. And I hope you're enjoying Italy, the fine wine, and dining while I'm working hard every day, you know, trying to save America. I just hope you're enjoying it.
McLean, Virginia. I'm talking to you from McLean, Virginia, and I'll tell you, I am really looking forward to your new program. I think it's a brilliant insight, and I think it's going to be historic and very important.
All right. Thank you, Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich.